And when we did radio, there was no social media.
Mm-hmm.
We would tape it on reel to reel first, and then I would edit it, and you literally had to splice it and put a piece in. That was like the old days.
Welcome to Driven by Janelle, the podcast where passion meets power and women take the lead on two wheels. Your host, attorney Janelle Bailey, is a biker, a boss, and your bold guide into a world where horsepower merges with the feminine fire. Here we'll explore bike culture, highlighting the latest rides and gear, breaking down legal updates you need to know, sharpening your riding techniques, and sharing lessons straight from the asphalt, all while turning up the volume on the voices of fearless women who dominate the road. This is more than dark shades and worn leather. It's about celebrating fierce women, unforgettable adventures, and the raw freedom that comes when we own our ride and our story. This is Driven by Janelle. What drives you to ride?
And today I'm here with Gina Woods. And like I said, you guys, I've just met like amazing woman after amazing woman in motorcycles. And I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to read a little bit about Gina because every single person I've interviewed has had the most amazing bio. Gina Woods is co-creator and host of Open Road Radio. She's a seasoned media professional with a rich background in terrestrial radio and over 25 years of experience in motorcycle talk and programming. For over 20 years, Open Road Radio has served as a premier platform where Gina interviews industry leaders and shares the latest motorcycling news. Gina's expertise and passion for motorcycling have earned her features in renowned publications like Easy Rider Magazine, Ironworks Magazine, the Chicago Tribune, the Rapid City Journal. Gina has been invited to speak at radio talk shows, motorcycling conferences, and television news programs. Beyond her media career, Gina founded Gina Woods XX Chromes, All Women's Bike Builders, a nonprofit organization that brings together female motorcycle mechanics to build bikes for charity. She's an active member of ABATE of Illinois, Chicago, and Duquesne chapters, the AMA, American Motorcyclist Association, and the AMCA, Antique Motorcycle Club of America. So with that said, let's please welcome Gina.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, whenever I have to get my resume up, I'm coming back to you. I forgot about a lot of that stuff.
It's amazing. Like you're just living the dream, and you don't realize like how many things you've done.
There's a lot there that you do over a lifetime span. We've done the radio show for 28 years now.
Wow.
January 2nd always marks the next year, and it's also my birthday, so I can't forget when. Thank you. I can't forget when Open Road Radio's birthday is also. So thank you so much for having me here, and you guys are amazing. What a great setup, and I can't wait to see your podcast.
Well, me either. So I mean, you've done so much, but what I guess first got you into radio and then got you into motorcycle radio? So
well, they always told me when I was younger that I had this real heavy voice, and these heavy pipes, and I said, well, that was from a lot of drinking and smoking, bourbon and smoke, whiskey and cigarettes. But it was really an attraction that people always said me in radio, and I was in radio. I went to school for broadcasting journalism. So I was able to marry my career path to my passion in motorcycling and put together a motorcycle talk radio show. So at the beginning, I met another gal that was interested in some stuff. I was working at a radio station in Chicago. And it was a variety of talk format, and my program manager came to me and said, you've been talking about this radio show you want to do? Do you want to, I've got an open slot now, and it's on a major station. And I went, oh my gosh. He said, you have 1 month, and you don't say no. So we just, me and this other lady, we met. We said, can we put this together? We had done some prior information on would you listen to AM or PM? Would you listen in the AM or, on PM or AM or FM station? And we just did a whole catalog of surveys finding out if people that there was a need in the market because we didn't want to get on radio and have it. Well, I've been doing it for 28 years and I haven't stopped talking yet.
Wow.
So we never looked back.
That's amazing. So you had like 1 month notice and then you've started it. And it's gone for 28 years.
And we have started to do some background work already, hoping to not specifically at that channel, but it was my desire to maybe get into some type of recordings or something. But the opportunity came up, and then Open Road Radio was born.
And you did it.
Yeah.
And so you were researching it before. What made you want to start Open Road Radio?
Just the idea of managing helping to manage a talk format. And I thought, oh my gosh, the industry I'd already been in motorcycling. It wasn't like it was a new subject to me. And I thought I could bring a lot to the table by interviewing people, getting to know them, and finding out the facts and important information that people needed to know.
Right.
Kind of like the morning news. And my desire was, I was working in radio, country and western station, V108. So I was working in radio, but I wanted to take it up a level and do talk radio and bring information out to people. I get to know people. I get to know the culture and what it meant to them, not only to me.
Right.
So, it was born, and I've never looked back.
Yeah, well, neither is anyone else. They're still listening all these years. That's just so amazing. Because I imagine 28 years ago, were there a lot of I don't know, women in radio or women in motorcycles? I mean, you're a pioneer.
Thank you so much. There had been a woman in a talk format on a station in California, and I spoke to her because I always reached out to talk to people because I wanted to be sure I was doing something good and I wasn't stepping on toes. And whenever I heard that there was a new motorcycle talk show, I would call them right away. I'm here if you need any help. But there really wasn't for the longest time. I was really in that field by myself for the longer, which was good. I mean, there's a lot of different formats now and different talk shows. But I think we kind of have been holding our own for a long time.
Yeah. Has your show had to change at all, or have you when you first did it, did you have an idea of it? This is what it's going to be. And then did it tell you, no, this is what I'm actually going to be? But, I
was talking to a photographer last night, videographer. And when we did radio, there was no social media. And there was no, as automated as it is now, digital, there was none of that. So I was literally telling him that we would tape it on reel-to-reel first, and then I would edit it, and you literally had to splice it and put a piece in. That was the old days. And
radio.
Real radio, where you really had this old equipment, these old boards to work on. So I was a board op in radio and some stations downtown in Chicago. So I knew all I knew the production part of it. So when we started, I got a producer. I was programming the shows. It started out very grassroots, and to be able to do it today is so streamlined.
Yeah.
We can do the show and send it to 5 or 6 different channels. So
just right away. So you've had your show for 28 years.
Yes.
That's a lot of people that I imagine you've interviewed.
Oh my gosh, it's so many people. We and I'm so excited. So we interviewed Peter Fonda, and of course he's no longer here. We interviewed Eva Knievel. I mean, I've Malcolm Forbes, who just passed, but some really iconic people of the industry, and thank God. And yes, I have interviewed hundreds and thousands of people, and it's so amazing, and that never gets old.
Right.
That's never gotten old to learn. And I don't usually get interviewed, but like right now, I want to ask you questions. It's just habit.
Flip it around later, but yeah.
We'll have to have you on Open Road Radio.
I think so.
Yes.
I think so.
Very soon.
Hopefully, I'll actually know how to ride by then. So
Yes.
that'll be good.
I'm so
But,
proud of you.
Yeah. Well, just hold that thought until I actually know how to ride. But I guess if you had to pick like one or two of your favorite guests or your most
Oh my gosh.
memorable interview, maybe.
It would be so hard. We've interviewed people that were on the depiction of the Easy Rider run. So that was in Louisiana like 15 years ago. And that was with like Peter Fonda because he was from the movie Easy Rider. So we were there. We had NFL 49er football players there. And we've done some great broadcasts all over the country. Peter Fonda was at one of our the Happiness, Love, and Happiness ride in Austin, Texas. Peace, Love, and Happiness that John Paul DeJoria puts on.
Wow.
And so there were a lot of celebrities there, and Peter was on stage with us. Robbie Knievel was on stage. Just highlights, some real memorable highlights. But then again, the lady or the girl that's just learning how to ride a motorcycle story is pivotal to me because, she's speaking from the heart. She has this passion.
Yeah.
So I'd have to say all of them.
All of them. Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah. And I imagine every interview, and it's a real person, so every story is unique. Yeah. So that's.
Yeah, it really is. And it's just, I like, we always say that Open Road Radio is about entertainment, education, and information.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we want to
That's what you do.
get from the shows. A lot of people will be on our shows and say, great show. And I like to say, well, what part of great did you like best?
Yeah.
To find out what did you take away with? Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you able to take away with?
Yeah. I guess, and that kind of brings me to another question is like, how do you choose like the topics on your show? Because you just have so many really cool like segments and they seem really like dedicated to specific things. What made you come up with those segments? Or?
I think just trying to get out, and it seems like it needs to be like a 3-hour show because that's a lot to cram in a 1-hour show. So we've kind of narrowed it down just recently to like 2 interviews because I would have like 5 interviews in an hour and everybody got 10 minutes max. And that's really when you're just getting warmed up. Yeah. And then you go, okay, thank you so much. And then you got to go. In a way, it's kind of demand is nice too. But, and with the technology, you can always say, now we're going to go to the way. If you want to hear the rest of that interview, go to the website. So, just way to pull in more people or numbers. But, I think I do a lot seasonally. What's happening in the industry used to be that during the motorcycle season, you'd have your riding season and then everything would kind of end between November for the holidays and January or March till the season opened up again. But now it goes all the way through. There's like stuff going on all the time. Like here we are in February at a conference. Yeah. So,
but even like your segments, like, is it like Bikers Build, like, going over building bikes or doing advocacy or, how do you choose those,
it's
or
really,
is it motivated by something,
I think it's motivated by time of the year, what's happening maybe in the motorcycle industry at the time as well. Certainly there's like seasonal where the races start. Yeah. And that's something I'm really interested in. My son races in the Sons of Speed. And his father did too. So it's 45 antique bikes with no brakes. So there's just much.
I don't know about this.
Yeah,
whole new area.
You'll have to watch that segment. So that's coming up in March, and of course, bike weeks, there's always something. How do you stop? Yeah, well, you just have to have control of your bike and know when to slow it down and build it up, and sometimes you use your boots.
That is amazing. Did you do that too?
Oh no, not yet.
Okay. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's really wild. Sons of Speed are vintage races. So
that's very cool.
There's so much in motorcycling that's going on all year, and we just try to help to promote and talk to the promoters, the owners, the sponsors of those events before they happen, just to bring in more people, get people interested. There's a whole other world in this motorcycling category.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like motorcycle, it's never ending. There's always something new and cool to be doing.
There really is. And I think if you just look in your local markets or on a national scale as well, we've got some great events coming up in Wisconsin in February. Mama Tried, it's a 3-day chopper show, but it's like people come from all over the country, even the world. They come from Europe. So, it's great to be a part of those types of events and see what the culture is doing, this year in 2025 and 2024, because it may or may not change.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if I asked you this, but how did you get in with motorcycles to begin with? Like, what made you a motorcyclist?
So I had an uncle that would pick my mother up, but I was too little to go on a ride, but he would pick her up and take her for a ride, and I would hear this go down the street. I'm like, oh, I want to do that someday. So I think it's his fault.
Okay, we'll just blame him.
My uncle Mike.
Uncle Mike. And so when did you first start riding?
Probably about 18, 19. I rode some off-road. I think I got my first bike when I was 24, and it was a 69 Sportster.
Okay.
And then I got my and I've always liked older bikes. I've got 4 now, but I've always liked older bikes. So my favorite is my Panhead that I've gone across country a couple of times on.
Wow.
And it's a kickstart motorcycle, so it's
I don't know what that is.
So in order to start it, you have to kickstart it. So you have to kind of stand up on it and then come down on it. It's kind of,
That's
it can be a challenge. You got to bike that's tuned and ready to rock and roll very well. It's got to be right on point. Otherwise, it could be a challenge. I always say it takes as many people that are watching that many kicks. So one time I was in Ohio at this convention, and the parking lot was full of motorcyclists. There had to be a couple hundred. And there I was trying to kick my motorcycle to start it, and it took forever. And so then it probably took a good 10 kicks. And when it started, the whole parking lot went, yay! I just was like, that made me so nervous. My heart was pounding. I was like, well, I had attention. I wanted to turn it off.
Well, you did. You got it started. So,
yeah, I did. It started. She always starts.
Yeah.
She always starts. She's called Sweet Melissa.
Oh,
She's a
good job, Sweet Melissa.
Yeah.
So you have 4 bikes. So that's one of your bikes.
Yes.
What's your other?
I've got a Street Glide.
Okay.
Got an old Suzuki, and my shovel head. I've got a 83 shovel.
Wow.
A 49 pan, 83 shovel, a 2003 Street Glide anniversary edition, and then a 78 Suzuki.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a lot of cool bikes.
Yeah. Well, some of my friends have a lot more like big collectors' bikes, so which are amazing.
Yeah, but I feel like, when you, I want to say dress up, that's not the right word, but when you dress up your bike to be yours, like it just makes it so unique.
Customize.
Yes.
Customize when you customize.
Yours.
Yeah, I've customized every bike that I've had. I don't think I've ever had a bike that's just been a, because like when you work Sturgis and Bike Week and different bikes or any events or rallies that you do, we do a lot in my field. You park a bike and they could all look alike.
Right.
It's like, oh, which bike is mine?
Yeah.
But no, it's just an extension of who I am. So it's like my house is there's not any room on the walls because I always put stuff up, whether it's something abstract or, a large ladle spoon because I'm into antique stuff. It's just a reflection of who I am.
Yeah.
And that's what I love to do.
Yeah. What's your, favorite thing about riding or?
Oh my gosh. So my favorite thing about riding used to be to ride into the sunset. That was my favorite part of the day, was going west of where I live to be able to ride into the sunset, just because I liked that whole glow and that feeling. I like riding on country roads so that you could just feel that wind and the sun and the freedom. Just the huge factor of freedom. It's therapy for me. So if I've got something really going on, that I'm trying to figure out or think about, a good ride is always. Some people like to meditate. Some people like to go do yoga. I like to take a ride and just really let it formulate in my head what I need to work out. So that's what works for me.
No, I get that. And I get the whole thing of going west. Every apartment I lived in, I always wanted to have a west-facing window. I don't know what it is. It's like
it's kind of that Zen thing or something. You just got to have that.
And then
I'm a sun person.
I moved to Seattle, so now I'm pretty far west.
You are really west.
So I'm as west as you can get, besides maybe Alaska. But so. I don't know what it is with the West, like always going west. I love that.
I do. And don't get me wrong, because I love sunrise too. I'm a morning person, love that sunrise. Took my bike down to Chicago a couple years ago before the sun came up and had it right against the backdrop of Chicago, right at like by Navy Pier, right by the water, right by the Lake Michigan. So I have the water and the background, and the sun was just coming up. I was like, oh yeah. I wish I could do this more.
It's nice. It's nice, but it's definitely, say, like being on a motorcycle, you definitely feel, it's like being in nature, but being outside.
Exactly. And I'm a real outdoors. So I love that. Love that feeling. I like being in control. I love to be on the back still, because then you can just kind of look around. Me and John went on a trip in October ago before, and I was in the sidecar. So we took this whole trip with antique bikes, this whole group of people for 5 days. And that was really nice. That was awesome because I could take all these pictures and I could do all this stuff. I could read a book if I wanted or catch up on my phone. So it was really a blast. But as far as, going for my own therapy, being in control and, being able to go where you need to go, or just having that control is
it's really
it's nice. So confident. It fills you up with so much confidence.
I can see that. I guess, how do you feel, or do you think media or social media or any kind of media has played a role in like motorcycle culture?
Oh my gosh, I think a lot. The new the Easy Rider magazine is coming back, being published by Paisano Publications, who always owned it. And then they retired from it a couple of years back, and they just stepped back. So that was kind of the Bible of motorcycling, Easy Rider magazine. Everybody wanted to be that rebel, and I mean, that's what the mystique of, the whole Harley Davidson is, to have that culture. And I think Harley does a decent job at making it very culturistic for people. But media plays a huge part. And, now it's kind of, they wanted to take it from that bad boy image to the family image. But and I think it's individual, but yes, media is so important. I think we get a lot of information from even magazines. I hear they're on the comeback, and I think that's exciting to actually have something tangible in your hand, rather than just always an online thing
I
to
don't
go
think
look
you ever
for.
own it. You ever digest it fully.
I do too.
And you can come back to a magazine if it's there. You come back and I feel like every time I read a magazine, if it's like you've read it before, I just get something new. I don't know.
I do too. I really like that aspect. Jason Momoa, he does a lot with media and motorcycling, the Rome, his new film. So I think, TV, radio, a magazine plays such an important part of motorcycling.
Yeah.
You know, bringing it to life, bringing stories. You know, first it was always magazine that were our stories. Now, you know, then it was radio and now digital. So you don't have to wait for that monthly magazine to come. Now you're going to get it, you know, online immediately. You know, Facebook will tell you, you know, before it even happened sometimes. You know? So I think it does. I think media, you know, can really downplay it or really can upplay it.
Yeah, that's why I think it's just so cool that you've had your radio station because you have been able to influence people a lot.
Well, now I feel like I'm probably the dinosaur of all of them because, you know, because there's so much digital and we do stream, but we're once a week on it and we're still real radio. And I just have you know, some people when they're riders, they just love to ride and I just love to do radio. People are like, well, have you doing a podcast yet? I'm like, no, not yet. Still doing real radio.
Your show, you could always put it into a podcast afterwards.
We'll see.
But I think with your show being around for 28 years, it's just so authentic though, right? Because you're doing it before anyone else was doing it. You're doing it before podcasts, before people were doing it for, you know, social media or anything like that.
Thank you.
So I feel like
we were just doing it for people that were listening to real radio. And that's all there was. You know, at the time we did, when we were on WCKG in Chicago, we were on at night. We were on from 8 to 10 p.m. And we would have people that were traveling through Chicago. It was on a Sunday night, you know, to be at their place on Monday. So we used to get truck drivers. And it was a college show. It was like real talk calling. So it was really a lot of fun. And then we switched that to online streaming a real talk show, but now people are sending their comments online and we're watching them come in. So it's really different, but I miss the aspect of hearing people's voice because it really brings it to light, you know. And
well, maybe
maybe we could do both.
I think, I think
in this day and age,
that would be very cool.
Yeah, probably anything is possible.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that is.
Yeah, I think so. Well, either way, like I just hope you realize like how much of a pioneer you've been.
Wow, thank you.
Because I mean, in journalism and motorcycling, there haven't been historically, right? A lot of women.
Yeah. And the women movement now, women in power sports is so amazing. I mean, look at you. There's just so many great backstories today. And there's never people were like, oh, what are you going to talk about when I first started? Motorcycles. It's like, wow. I mean, how much can you talk about motorcycles? 28 years, right?
A lot of stuff. Yeah.
Because of people like you.
Yeah.
You know, still like coming into the industry.
Yeah.
And being a part of it.
Yeah. Well, I have heard, I mean, there's a lot, obviously, more women motorcyclists than 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
So it's probably because they've heard you on the radio.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's definitely part of it.
Yeah,
so
there's no subjects to ever run out of. You know, there's a lot of content out there.
Yeah. Well, I think it's fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think you're fantastic.
Well, I think you're fantastic. So, I don't know. Is there anything else you want me to cover at all?
I'll let everybody know that we're on Monday nights.
Okay.
So Open Road Radio presents Motorcycle Mondays at 8 p.m. Central Time.
Okay.
And we're on a station in Chicago and station in Las Vegas, but we stream live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Roku.
And we'll provide all these.
Facebook, yeah.
Perfect. So I interrupted you. We can provide all the links on our YouTube. We'll put it in. We can stick it on the end of it and link everything. I can't wait to see
your podcast.
Yeah, but thanks so much, and thanks so much for doing it so last minute.
Thank you, and your crew. You guys are wonderful.
Yeah. Well,
I should have always had a woman crew, not a guy crew. Your women crew is perfect.
Well, way to go, guys.